Today we're going to shoot for the stars, so stick around for today's episode of Life's Potluck Buffet. I'm John Paulus. Thanks for joining me. Today I'm going to ask the cards how to accomplish big things, and we're going to see what the cards tell us today. And if you're following from home, you know that yesterday I drew card 8. Others always need something from you. Get clarity on what you do for others and what others need from you. I actually had an experience yesterday where someone asked me for something and I was hyper aware of the fact, alerted by this card, that I should be looking out for things that other people need from me to understand what's next for me in life. So I really want to thank the cards for that. Okay, so that's on the bottom of the deck. As always, the last card that we drew is on the bottom. I'm going to do 3 casual shuffles. Right, there's 3. Okay, and then one last thorough shuffle, we'll call it. Okay, there we go. Now I meld the cards together and I look for the gap in the cards. Let me see where there is something. Oh, I guess this is a gap, isn't it? Okay, I'm going to pull this card out right here. Okay, here's where the gap was. It's the back of your mind as a full-time job again. Wow, how many times am I going to pull this card? Yeah, this is handy. So, I spoke about this card the other day, and it's the back of your mind has a full-time job. I'll read it to you in case you missed that episode. Ask yourself a question to solve. Then refinish a chair or run an errand or take a walk or do whatever your mind-clearing activity is. While you're doing that activity, the back of your mind is solving the problem. The same is true with dreaming. Conscious problems are often solved by unconscious thought. What activity do you do when you're trying to figure something out unconsciously? Have you since if you did hear that episode of a week ago or so, have you been thinking about that? Have you been letting the back of your mind do the work? I find it's always handy. The thing here about accomplishing big things, I think, is also true because, we want to. The danger, at least in my world, and in the world of Life's Potluck Buffet as well, that we share, that the danger of overthinking, especially big things, is always a real risk to flourishing. I don't know if you find this is true for you as well, where you just want to accomplish that big thing and you want to think about what is that big thing or, what's the next big thing. And you end up overthinking in the process and get into that thing where we're spinning our wheels. So I think this card really is pointing to the fact that accomplishing big things, the back of our mind has a big role in us accomplishing big things. And I realize that as a reality in my life, I try not to overthink when I'm trying to do something big. And also, I think there's a difference between trying and doing. That overthinking is trying and doing is doing, if that makes sense. And I don't want to get into Star Wars talk here, but action start talking, the Yoda talk. But action is the key thing, because otherwise you're thinking. And we know this from athletics. We know it from any activity where people are in the zone, where they're bodies are doing what their bodies are trained to do. And, there's no separation between our minds and our bodies. That we've come to realize that. In the past, there's always this separation. Right? We know that our mind is part of our body, and our bodies are part of our mind, etc. They're connected. There's no disconnecting the two. And so, this whole process of allowing the whole body to do, rather than just using one part, which is your mind, and separating that out as if it's something different from the rest of your body. And I think that that's an obstacle when you are just trying to, when you're overthinking things, when you're trying rather than doing, when you're thinking rather than acting, when you have words and ideas rather than action and implementation. So those boundaries, overcoming those boundaries and connecting those things up, that is the big thing. And that's how we accomplish big things in life. When our words and our actions are not two things, but one thing. When our bodies and minds are not separate, but one thing. And that unity of approach is the key to accomplishing big things. Again, I'll think about it as an analogy, as an athletic analogy. When you're a soccer player, let's say, and you don't say, I'm going to try to score a goal here. You can say you have the ball and you see that there's a opening where you can score a goal. If you said, I think I'm going to try to score a goal here, having that kind of consciousness about what you're doing is going to result in things not working out. We know that. We know that from our lives. Being in that zone, as they call it, where your body and mind are doing what they were trained to do, what you have trained them to do, and what they know how to do, and allowing them to take over unconsciously. And by that, I mean without overthinking, and really without thinking at all sometimes, because your body and mind are one and know what to do. The same things when your thoughts and actions are one, when your words and actions are one. That unity, that's the way to accomplish big things. Removing that boundary line between the conscious and the unconscious. That is the key to accomplishing big things, because that's when we're in the zone. That's when we're at our best. That's when we're doing what we know how to do, what we've prepared all of these years to do. And when you've prepared so many years to do something, that's when you're in the position to accomplish big things. It's just everything needs to shut off and you go on autopilot and accomplish these big things. We've heard the story countless times in countless situations. And you've experienced this before. Even if you've just experienced it in a simple situation. We've all experienced this in our lives in small daily ways. When you realize you've been doing something and you haven't even been thinking about it, and all of a sudden it's done, and you say, oh, wait, what happened? Who did that? That moment is that's the big moment. And when you have a vision for a big thing that needs to happen, that you need to do, and you pull back, that sliding divider is what I think of it as, between thoughts and actions, and those become one, then you are going to accomplish big things. And you already have accomplished big things. And you will accomplish big things again. I hope you have a great day, and I'll see you next time on Life's Potluck Buffet.